in my mind, we could chalk that up to motivative reasoning, right? I'm not comfortable with that message. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea that there's a person.
Of personal relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea that ontologically there's a person that's superior to me eternally that I'm dependent on. I don't like that idea. If I don't like that idea, then God as a non-personal energy will be much more appealing, and the Upanishads would be more appealing.
I like to be self-employed. I don't want to be working for somebody else.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's part of why I thought this was an important topic, because motivative reasoning and confirmation bias can play out in our interpretation of these texts, in our interpretation of how we interpret the universe, or what messages we derive from the universe. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator of the Bhakti Center in New York City, Kaustubha Das. Welcome to the show. It is episode 1569. It's Tuesday, April 1st, 2025. We are here on this Tuesday with me and Mara sporting the new Wisdom of the Sages merch. Check this out.
Look at that.
Coolest trucker. Mara looks cute in that one, I think. And
you look cute.
I think I look cool, but we're gonna have to leave it up to you guys on the message board.
We're gonna be walking around wearing that thing all the time now.
I am. I like it. It's right up there with my Kubota hat. Look at this.
You briefly describe it for the
okay.
listeners.
So we have an orange Wisdom of the Sages trucker hat, and we've got a blue, navy blue Wisdom of the Sages trucker hat. And then we got these dad hats. The dad hats are not my style, but a lot of people like to wear them. I can sort of see you in a dad hat, Kaustubha. This one's white and pine. Also,
that white one, I suppose that's like for the summer or something like that.
It's for like people who are into dad hats. And these are really nice beanies.
With the Wisdom of the Sages
patch. With the Wisdom of the Sages patch.
Right.
I have them in like cream
Are they
colored,
wool or
navy,
acrylic?
Orange.
I like this one too. This is your sannyas Wisdom of the Sages one, Kaustubha. Saffron.
I'm not a sannyasi, Raghunath. I don't know if you noticed that.
Might be moving in that direction someday.
You're a little far from the mic today, Raghunath. You're a little far from the mic.
I'm just demonstrating the merch.
Yeah, but people can't hear you.
So this is me and Mara. Are we doing the show tomorrow?
Yep.
Okay, we're out the door tomorrow.
And then you fly,
flying to Gothenburg.
Okay, then we got to figure out what we're doing the rest of the week, huh?
Yeah.
We stayed up late and tried to figure it out.
You stayed up late?
Me and Mara stayed up late and tried to figure out my entire schedule.
Oh, okay.
A little tricky, but we want to. I want to show up as much as I can. I think it's nice. I can do it. I think before we weren't that organized in previous years when I'd go on tour, and it was just sort of like, okay, show today. No show today. Show it, 10 o'clock in the morning today. So I like to really show up as much because it's sort of fun to do the show from a weird city, not a weird city, but a peculiar city that I'm not usually in, and like on the road. My voice is hoarse, but a lot of times they're sort of spontaneous. But Kaustubha's going to get some backup people to assist him to replace me.
We'll update the show calendar on the Sage Community platform, though.
Yeah, the Sage Community platform is the way.
Tomorrow we can announce what's going on this week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow we'll announce what's happening this week.
All right.
And thanks for all the people being tolerant who join us live on Zoom. Mara, what's going on?
Well, have you checked out the Sage Community platform? If Wisdom of the Sages...
He always has that.
Have you checked it out? You got to make it sound more... Hey.
That's great.
I thought that...
You checked it out? Yes, I have.
You're like, oh, you're asking me? Both of you guys thought you responded to that.
Have you checked it out? Yes.
Have you checked it out?
Yeah, I have.
If Wisdom of the Sages has been helpful in your life and you'd like to contribute to our work, please log on to wisdomofthesages.com. Become a supporting member of our Sage Community platform. Yeah, for a minimum $5 monthly contribution or maximum donation of whatever your heart desires. You get access to a wide range of live and archived classes, our community chat, merchandise, retreat registrations.
I think I'm going to go off now, and I'm going to. Oh, you guys froze up, man. You guys are. You're lagging. You're freezing. I think I'm going to go off in the coming days because I have so much content to share on the Sage Community platform. There's like the classes we did in at the Eco Village. There's tons of stuff that we did in Mayapur. And I did like a whole month where I was speaking every morning and every evening in Rishikesh. So there's a lot to put up. Okay, Raghunath, I think you're back now. Are you back?
Yeah, I had to take a little break. Hope you guys are doing good. No, I don't know. It's 2025. Our internet is still subject to the wind.
You got to figure it. You got to get Manish back over there.
They make electric dogs now. Electric dogs, and they cannot figure out my internet. Come on.
All right, Raghunath, you ready to get into the nugget today?
I'm in.
How do you want to deal with this nugget? Because it's different than the average nugget. Did you look at it?
This morning I was doing my puja.
All right. So why don't you let me read it then?
Okay. A little differently today. We could either read. Oh, that's not your. Okay.
That's my note to you.
That's your note. My private note to me. I'm reading publicly.
Let me read this nugget, okay?
Sure.
So we were talking yesterday. We were kind of like exploring this internal programming that we have in relation to the Bhagavad Gita 7:27. This Icha Dvesha, that how our desires Icha and how our aversions Dvesha, how they shape the way that we see the world.
Mm-hmm.
And so it becomes like a filter, So we talked about these deep-rooted likes and dislikes, how they act as filters, and how they distort our understanding of reality or ourselves or God, like just the whole existential picture. And so what I wanted to get in today was that, modern science or modern psychology has a language for this as well. And they've done research and they've, into these kind of filters. All right. You are giving
listening.
me a stare. Okay. You're actually looking at me now, but
this is the problem. If I look away, I'm in trouble. If I look at him, I'm in trouble.
No, but you're just the way you're looking at me was like your eyes are looking at me, but your mind was definitely somewhere else. It felt like. Okay. So back in the 1960s, a British psychologist named Peter Wason, I think, or Wason, he ran a series of experiments showing that people tend to seek out information that supports what they already believe and ignore what contradicts it. And he called this confirmation bias. Okay,
confirmation bias, sure.
Confirmation bias.
Like if you say, "Oh, I see 108 everywhere," then you'll actually go out of your way and look at 108.
Sure.
That's confirmation
one
bias.
Way. Yeah. So he said it's like we carry around an unconscious highlighter.
Yep.
And it only lights up the ideas that reinforce our current worldview. So he says it's not just like a mistaken logic, but it's a deeply rooted tendency in the human mind to protect its worldview.
Interesting.
And then later research, particularly in the field of cognitive psychology and behavioral economics, it confirmed how pervasive this bias is. It's like it's everywhere. It's super common. It's like you have to fight against it if you want to try to see truth, right?
Sure.
Okay. So so that's confirmation bias. Now there's something called motivative reasoning. Okay, which it takes it even a step further, Raghunath. This was like in the 80s, there was a psychologist named Ziva Kunda. And she wrote an influential paper called The Case for Motivated Reasoning, which explored how people use reasoning not to find truth, but to reach conclusions that align with their desires and emotions. So if something threatens our comfort zone, we may twist the facts, sometimes without even realizing it, to make the conclusion feel safer or more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
So much of what we call thinking is actually just justifying. We're not always trying to discover the truth. Sometimes we're just trying to stay emotionally safe. And so we often believe we're being rational, but we're actually just being selectively rational. Our reasoning is guided by what we want to believe. So this, and it's said that this concept overlaps with theories of cognitive dissonance, right? Which also describe how we adjust our thinking to avoid discomfort, right? We don't like to feel a certain something threatens our comfort zone. And so this is, this is something more than the confirmation bias that was discussed earlier, where it's kind of like we're searching for truth, but we're just ineffective in doing it because of our biases. Here, we're actually trying not to find the truth, or we're trying to create a truth, So these mental habits are now, they're considered core features of how the mind works, like psychologists see it this way. And it does give us a powerful lens, both scientific and spiritual, for understanding why it can be so hard to perceive truth clearly. Thoughts, Raghunath? Thoughts on this?
I'm going to have to let this thing go through the
marinade
filter. I don't think I'm ready to comment on this. What are you thinking? What are you thinking?
Well, I just think it's so important. It's I gave an example yesterday of you know what? Maybe I could even pull it up if it's around. 1 second. It is around. I was talking yesterday about a video that I watched where someone was. I don't want to get too detailed about it, but they said that this was in the realm of Vedānta, right? So because how this all plays out spiritually is very important. And this person was saying that I think this particular Vedanta philosopher, they made an advancement from classical Vedanta. In other words, they took Vedanta into a new realm of understanding. And they said because their vision harmonized the different world religions in a way that's non-hierarchical, it doesn't involve saying my path is better or higher than yours. Right. So in my mind, what that's doing is it's like saying, this is what I'm comfortable with. Like the whole point of Vedanta is I look at the texts. They are the pramana. That they are the source of truth. And I accept what they say. Here it's like I have this realm in which I want truth to exist. And if someone interprets it in a way that fits in that box, then I accept that as the proper understanding. It's a backwards way. It's like rather than view these ancient texts through the filter of our emotions or our tendencies or our inclinations, rather we're meant to view our emotions, our inclinations through the lens of these texts. You understand?
Right.
And so, this plays out in, obviously these kind of things like this, this kind of selective viewing of truth, this motivated reasoning or confirmation bias. Obviously, they play out in all aspects of life, but they play out in a really, like historically, in my opinion, they play out historically in how we interpret Shastra, how we interpret these ancient texts, why different people can look at the same text and have very different ideas about what they say. And that Harvard talk that I gave, it kind of dealt with one fundamental question. Is the absolute truth an energy or a person? Right? And different people, different Vedantins look at the same text and they come up with very different ideas.
Completely different.
Yeah.
and they're both scholars.
Yeah. And they're both quoting, they give their quotes.
Both from a parampara of sorts.
Yeah, sure. And they come up with very different ideas. Here, what I was mentioning earlier was a person that said, well, I'm going to accept that presentation which fits into this box, which has to do with my personal inclinations. And sometimes even that, you see, because my belief is that there is a hierarchy in a sense. There is an evolution, I would call it, an evolution from the stage of karma as is taught in some of Vyasa's works like the Vedas, to the realm of jnana, which is taught in the Upanishads, to the realm of bhakti, which is taught in Bhagavad Gita and Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. That it's not saying that I'm better than you. It's a natural evolution. It's a growth. But when you see through that lens, then I can look at any world religion and say, you know what? If someone's in another spiritual path than mine, but they've evolved to bhakti, then they're more advanced than I am, because I haven't done that yet within my own tradition. So in my mind, it's hierarchical in one sense, but if we're going to have evolution, there's going to be hierarchy. Evolution means you're evolving to a higher stage. There has to be an element, and I think what they're doing is they're filtering out. They're filtering that out of the picture, and so it plays out in so many ways. We're going to hear.
Can I
today,
give you my
let's hear your
layman's analogy?
All right.
Tell me what you think of this, and tell me if you thinks it fits in with what you're saying.
Yeah.
As a heterosexual man, women are beautiful. We're going to preempt it with this. Women are beautiful, and that is like an objective statement. So we say, the Vedantists will say, yes, it's all one. Religion is good. It brings you to God. There is one God. But as we get more deeply connected in our particular tradition through our teachers, or through our scriptures, or through our practice, or through our realization, or doing our evolution, then we fall deeper in love with a personality, a being. And just like a person in love with women, as they actually fall in love, not just objectively understand that women are beautiful, but they actually fall in love, they say, Mara's the most beautiful woman in the world. Because that you lose your objectivity for a subjective reality. And in Bhakti, we do that with Krishna. We do believe religion is one. We do believe there's higher echelons of spirituality, and that spirituality is nuanced according to our realization. It's not just like an on and off switch. I'm spiritual, I'm a materialist. But we actually fall deeper and deeper in love with Krishna. And therefore, we lose our objectivity in one sense as we develop prema. What do you think about that, Kaustubha?
Well, I think yes and no. Like, I think on one level, yes, because it's like within the realm of Krishna bhakti, there are different forms of Krishna that one person may find appealing and more appealing than another, or more drawn towards, right? And so, like, we see that, for instance, in Chaitanya Leela, where, who was it? Murari Gupta. Like the other Vaishnavas are trying to, like, say, hey, come on, man, it's Radha and Krishna. He's like, it's Ram for me. What can I see to Ram?
It's Ram.
I've tried.
That was such a moving part. That's such a moving story.
Yeah.
But during at Srivas Angam, when Lord Chaitanya is calling people forward and giving benedictions, he says, Murari, come forward. Murari comes with his hands folded, and then all of a sudden Ram manifests into Sita and Ram. I'm sorry, Chaitanya manifests into Sita and Ram. And all of a sudden, he says, look at your hands. And he has fur on his hands. He says, look behind you, and he's got a tail. He says,
imagine if you had a tail like that grow, just Raghunath. You're like, whoa.
Tail, just like a tail. And he's thinking, you'll never chant Krishna's name properly. You are Hanuman. You are meant to be with Ram.
Yeah.
So anyway.
So in that sense, you can't shake him from that type of, I suppose we could call it bias, but that attraction that he has can't be shaken. But on the other hand, I would say, no, it doesn't apply, because it's not that we can say, oh, therefore any God or any form is the supreme. It is Krishnastu Bhagavan Svayam. It is that's not a biased statement, and that's not a statement that's based on one's sentiments or one's feelings. But it's just an ontological truth according to Vedānta, according to Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is the commentary on the Vedānta Sutra. So,
now,
that's
you're making this point in sort of scholarly circles of Indian study, your Vedic study. Melanie Brandy on the message board, which I wasn't reading, but
okay, but it just read me.
Well, it's right in front of me, so I had to read it. She says some people will choose impersonalism to continue eating meat. Now, this is something very practical you've run into.
Yeah.
Here you are at the Rishikesh Kirtan Festival, where you get all people have their own agenda of what they want to do, and they find a philosophy that will say, you can do this. It's all one anyway. Who cares? Comment on that, please.
Yeah, well, that sounds to me like motivated reasoning, right? In other words, I'm looking for the truth that fits my desires, or my worldview or what I'm comfortable with. I'm not comfortable with a spiritual path that's going to challenge me in a particular way. And each spiritual path comes with its own kind of ontological truths. So I'll accept the ontological truths that fit in with how I want to live or practice. It's not a sound way of going about finding truth.
And oftentimes you can't even live it. You can't live it. You can just theorize of it, but you can't actually put it. You can't walk around and say, I love all beings, and then ignore that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm with you on that one, Raghunath.
Okay, good.
But you know, in my mind, that does, you see, since we've gone this direction now, is God a person or is God an energy? And what that talk that I gave about was that the answer that Vyas was feeling despondent.
Mm-hmm.
The author of all these texts himself. In other words, what is the answer? We all accept, you know, all Vedantins are accepting that Vyasa's texts are authoritative, that they're truth, but they have different ideas of what they're saying. And so when you're stuck in that position, then in one way, the only way to really get to the bottom of it is to find the author himself and see what the author says. What was your intention in writing these texts? What were you trying to communicate to us? Were you trying to communicate that God is an energy, ultimately, that ultimately the absolute truth is an energy? And when we say absolute truth, what we mean is that truth which is not dependent on any other thing. That truth that has no other source than itself. And so when you follow the chain back, until you get to the source of everything, is that source a person or an energy? And so Vyas, seeing that people had such different ideas about this in other related topics, he was feeling despondent. And then he was given the mission that, no, you need to clarify all of this. And so he opens up the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is the text where he's going to clarify it all, by saying Janmad Yasya Yataha, that the, you know, he refers back to the Vedānta Sutra that the absolute truth is that from which everything emanates. But who is that? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. It's Krishna, Vasudeva. And then he shows this scene where the sages in the forest, and they're all confused about these things. And more or less they ask, what is the absolute truth? And the answer, you get this, such an important verse, you know, Vedanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajganam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabjate. That the absolute truth is one, but manifests in three different features. And one of them is non-personal energy. But the one that they all come from is the personal form of God, and that is Sri Krishna. So
sunlight comes from sun globe.
Yes, right. There's a source, and then there's an energy that emanates from the source.
I just don't see how it can go backwards. We can understand, we can read the Upanishads, and we see that God is impersonal, God is an energy, God is light, you are God. I get that. And then you read the Bhagavatam and you see, and actually everything's emanating from this primordial being, Sri Krishna, the origin of all the avatars. I get how we can do that. I can't get how they go backwards. I can't get how they say, here's the Upanishads. What do you do with the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is incredibly personalistic? Like, how have those scholars wrote out the very statements of the Bhagavatam?
I would say in general that what they do is they say it's not as important a text.
And you just skip over it?
In a sense, because, you know, Vyas, he did write the Itihasas and Puranas. He did write the Mahabharata and the Puranas for a wider group of people, right? And so in one sense, oh, you know, there's this popular literature. It's good for people. It's like the comic books, you know, it'll be good for them to hear this stuff, but it's not the super authoritative stuff, you know, but what they don't get, and what Jiva Goswami explained so well in the Tattva Sindarbha, is that no. The Śrīmad Bhāgavatam is Vedanta. It is the commentary on Vedanta Sutra written by the author himself. And if you have trouble accepting that, then if all you're willing to accept is the Vedas and the Upanishads, there it calls the Puranas Panchama Veda, the fifth Veda. So that means it's entirely authoritative. And then within those texts, it identifies Bhagavatam as being the essence of all Vedanta. So that was his argument. Now, why wouldn't someone accept that argument? In my mind, we could chalk that up to motivative reasoning, right? I'm not comfortable with that message. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea that there's a person.
Of personal relationship.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very uncomfortable with the idea that ontologically there's a person that's superior to me eternally that I'm dependent on. I don't like that idea. If I don't like that idea, then God as a non-personal energy will be much more appealing, and the Upanishads would be more appealing.
I like to be self-employed. I don't want to be working for somebody else.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that's part of why I thought this was an important topic, because motivative reasoning and confirmation bias can play out in our interpretation of these texts, in our interpretation of how we interpret the universe, or what messages we derive from the universe. I think it plays out in science as well, right? A lot of people, just can't accept the fact, or very, very averse to even entertaining the idea that, say, even something like consciousness is not a product of matter, but that it's a different energy. Now, there's absolutely no proof that that's not true. And they're struggling and working like crazy to prove that it's not true, and they're getting nowhere. Why not accept that at least it's a possibility? Motivated reasoning. You just don't.
And so therefore, when you say something like follow the science, it's like there's many different ways you could look at it as well. If you're looking at it from the paradigm that everything must come from matter, you'll never get to that conclusion.
You'll never get, yeah. If you've ruled that out.
If you rule that out from the get-go, your lab is faulty. That's what we say.
That's right. You don't have the proper lab conditions.
Appropriate instruments. It's like building a house with just the handle of a hammer without the without the head of the hammer.
Right. All right, Raghu. So we're going to hear more about that what we read today, which is the prayers of what is Suman to Kapila Dev.
Okay, Suman's the grandson of Sagara.
Yeah.
And he's seeing Kapila for the first time, stumbling upon all of his uncles, I think.
Yeah, who are who are
they're dead.
A pile of dust.
A pile of dust
ashes.
At this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Before reciting the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which is our very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being. Under Srila Vyasa, under Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshu badreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati tamasloke bhakti bhavati naishtiki, by regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam, and by rendering service to the pure devotees. All that is troublesome to the heart will become eradicated, and loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmadatamena Tasmaye Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. Whoosh. Reading from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 8, Text 23.
You know what we need, Raghunath, to go along with that hat you got in there?
What? I'm going to actually change costumes today. Can I have some?
Really? You gotta switch it up.
Well,
okay.
I like product costume changes.
Okay.
Brings in a different facet.
Oh, look at this. Okay. Orange one.
Today.
There you go.
And this is cool.
I was going to say that with the other hat, what we need is just like a little wisdom of the sages, chewing gum, chewing tobacco. It comes in like one of those pouches or one of those little round things that guys have like in the back pocket. Right?
Yeah, except we'll do it with a betel.
Betel nut.
Betel nut, like they do in India. They chew those.
Spit it out. Okay.
Spit it out. All right.
What text are we on? Is
text
22. 22.
22. Okay.
Yeah.
My Lord. So this is Suman's prayers.
Yeah.
You are fully situated in everyone's heart. So this isn't the way that his uncles greeted Kapila. His uncles went there with swords raised, ready to kill him. But he's going in a different mood. So it says something about his caliber.
Yeah.
My Lord, you are fully situated in everyone's heart, but the living entities covered by material body cannot see you, for they are influenced by the external energy conducted by the three modes of material nature.
Okay.
Their intelligence being covered by sattva guna, rajaguna, and tamoguna, they can see only the actions and reactions of the three gunas. Because of the actions and reactions of the mode of ignorance, whether the living entities are awake or sleeping, they can see only the workings of material nature. They cannot see your lordship.
This interesting. You know what just occurred to me as you're reading that, Raghunath?
What?
Well, like that idea that we were just discussing, that let's say I have a form of confirmation bias or motivative reasoning, wherein I want the truth to fit within the framework of a non-hierarchical model, right? I want it to be that truth isn't just in one tradition, it's in all traditions. And I'm so into that idea that it's not even that I just want to accept that truth is in all traditions. I want to accept that they're all totally equal and that no one is superior to another in any way. That's truth must fit within that box.
Yeah.
Well, I would argue that this text that we're reading relates to that, where it's saying that we don't see the truth in this world because we're influenced by the modes of material nature. And this is the theory that all Vedantins accept, that the world that we're living in, the material world, is made out of essentially three different energies, right? That each has its different influence. One, in whatever objects we contact or whatever atmospheres or environments we enter into, that influence seeps into us and creates these kind of biases or motivations.
Mm-hmm.
And so those are in three different varieties. One is tamasic, which is kind of destructive or self-destructive, angry, lazy. The second one is rajasic, which has a lot to do with desire. I want more than I have. I'm searching for external resources to satisfy me.
Happier if I get it.
Yeah, theoretically.
Theoretically.
And then the third one would be sattva, which is the most luminous and the most harmonious. Because the tamasic is just full on destructive, even self-destructive. The rajasic is really enters into realms of competition and conflict. Generally, the sattva guna is the one of harmony, and I would say that I would put forward that kind of idea that truth must fit into this entirely non-hierarchical kind of model, that's influenced by sattva guna, but it's still not. It's still an illusory influence,
Sure.
but it's one towards harmony rather than towards conflict, right?
So you're saying that's why they highlighted ignorance.
I'm sorry?
That's why they highlighted ignorance in the... Anyway, continue on.
No, the point that I'm making is sattva guna is illusory too.
Sure.
It's not necessarily good. It's helpful for understanding truth, but it is an illusory energy itself. And so therefore the feeling or the inclination that the truth must not have any hierarchy within it. Nobody's truth is higher than another person's truth. That to me is like influenced by sattva guna, but it's diluting in a sense still.
Okay, interesting.
Right.
Speaking of atmosphere, what did you think of Atmosphere, the band? I'm
Atmosphere.
I'm obsessed with.
Okay, yes, you've become obsessed with
Kalindi and
Atmosphere.
Yamuna,
I
two of my
offer my
favorite
respects.
ladies.
I offer my respects to these two. I haven't investigated the music enough yet. I don't think it's necessarily like my thing, that kind of music,
Yeah.
But I appreciate that they've decided to dedicate their lives to chanting these
Hey, you know
names
what?
of
The
God.
word's out. Atmosphere is the new up-and-coming Krishna band.
Okay, Atmosphere.
Atmosphere. I played them during puja yesterday. Come on, Mara, come join me and the girls. We're gonna sing.
Me and the girls.
Dude, my three favorite ladies are here.
He's obsessed.
I'm
He's
upset with
obsessed.
Kalindi and Yamuna.
He's obsessed.
It
Raghunath.
helps the brand to have two identical twin singers.
Yeah, that
Imagine if we had a podcast where there was two people that look just like you. I'd listen to that podcast. It's Kaustubha and Roastubha.
Yeah. Well, is there anyone that looks like Mara? Maybe we can get like a spin-off going here. Raghunath's like, that's a dangerous question.
Well, there's people. Did you want to put on the message board what's that called again? That type of cartoon thing?
Ghibli or something like that?
We made a Ghibli of Wisdom of the Sages, and I come out every time looking like a bearded panda.
Well, you want me to share those on the chat board?
I think you should while I read.
Okay, well, first of all, there's one of me that came out like relatively good, right?
That was good. The ones of you
There
came
were a
out
couple of
good.
good
When it
ones.
got to me and Mara, I was like, nothing like us.
W-
Did you
Let's
put
see.
in make them also look a little ugly and obese?
No,
Did
no,
you
I didn't
add
do
that to
anything. I
AI?
was, it was, the more I was trying to get it to do it right, the more it just started getting crazier and crazier. Let's see, where did all those go?
Atmosphera. Everyone's putting up the links to Atmosphera. Woo!
We're really,
Okay, text 23. You
yeah, I
look
can't,
for the
I can't find
things.
this.
I'm just
Okay,
going to
I'll look for
read.
them while you read.
Oh, my Lord, sages freed from the influence of the three gunas, the three modes of nature. Sages such as the four Kamaras are able to think of you, who are concentrated knowledge. You are concentrated knowledge. That's an interesting way to put it.
Concentrated, I also found that phrase to be concentrated knowledge.
Just
Like all that there is to know is in you. That's how I looked at commentaries. I didn't find anything, but that's how I interpret it. Right? There's nothing to know outside of you. So like all knowledge is concentrated within you. I'm not sure if that's what it's meant to convey.
But how can ignorant persons like me think of you? I'm just doing it right now. Oh, completely peaceful Lord, although material nature, fruit of activities, and their consequent material names and forms are your creation, you're unaffected by them. Therefore, your transcendental name is different from material names, and your form is different from material forms. You assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of the Bhagavad Gita. But actually, you are the supreme original person. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. How can he say the Bhagavad Gita because this story predates the Bhagavad Gita?
And that's, well, hold it. Where did it say Bhagavad Gita?
24.
24. Oh, you went right over this 4 Kumars. Okay.
Oh, I read that. Where have you been?
No, I'm not. I didn't mean you.
Oh, you're
skipped it.
searching on the board for.
Yeah, well, I'm doing what you told me to do.
Okay.
How could, because that's Prabhupada putting that in, but he's just
Yeah.
kind of like, he was, of course, the Bhagavad Gita is an eternal conversation.
Sure,
you
it
know?
was spoken to the sun god.
Yeah, but
Okay.
that's just Prabhupada's way of like drawing that kind of knowledge, right? I
Okay.
found the stuff, Raghunath. Do you want me to share it on the
Yeah,
thing?
yeah. Share it on the board. Mara talk. I have to step out for a moment.
Whoa, whoa.
No.
You can't walk out in the middle of the show, Raghunath. Look at that, Mara.
Yes, you can. And
Okay, here he goes running when he does that. So here are the
does.
2 things of me. Here's one.
Seemed pretty accurate.
These are kind of accurate. Yes.
Yeah.
Now Chapu somehow did these. That first one is me in Navadweep,
Mm.
at the Madan Gopal temple.
Oh,
And
wow.
then the second one is a Dev Prayag. Right there. There you go. So then she told me to, she had like a free chat GPT, and so you were only able to do 2. So she said, why don't you do one of Wisdom of Sages? I think that'll be like a really popular thing, you know?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I'll give it a try. And so I tried, you can see in this image that at the top, you can see the image that I was trying to copy, which is the 3 of us together. And it didn't, it came less than fully accurate here with Raghunath looking like Santa Claus wearing white, me looking like absolutely nothing like me, and Mara looking quite glamorous there.
But not like me in any way. Particularly.
Maybe just a little. She's got the bangs.
Can you look a little bit more like that?
Which is funny because I don't have the bangs on the
Attracted
photo.
with the cartoon version of you.
So then, she said, oh, like fix the prompt, like try to improve the prompt. And so then
Look
I
at that one
got
of me. It looks
this.
Insane.
I got this thing, which was like further probably from the truth.
Yeah, less accurate.
And then I said, then we tried one more kind of like improving the prompt.
Like look at Kaustubha, young, handsome. attractive. And look at me, like
Kaustubha's
you look
father,
like
perhaps.
Mr. French or something.
I like Mr. French.
No, but this one. So then we tried to improve the prompt, and somehow Raghunath, don't ask me why. It turned you into this creature.
Into a rabbit.
How did it do that? What is that?
You're
Is it a cat?
deliberately taking me down. Mary's looking
I
cuter and
swear to
cuter.
God, I can show you the prompts. I swear to
It's
God.
all right.
But it
Let's
turned
get
you
back
into
to
some
the-
kind of cartoon cat or something like that.
Okay, Squirrel Master, let's bring it back.
You asked. All right.
I know.
And you ran away.
All right. We got a few more minutes here. Let's finish up this chapter.
Take it home. Oh, my Lord. Those whose hearts are bewildered by the influence of lust, greed, envy,
okay.
and illusion. This is it. This is it right here. Every spiritual scripture talks about this, but I will say the Bhagavatam speaks about it so eloquently.
Yes.
Every person whose hearts are bewildered by the influence of lust. I love her so much. Really? Would you love her if, she was missing an ear? No, sometimes people say that. You got to go through it. What do you love about her? You just love a body? You love a skin? You love this particular what if this package was disassembled? Would you still love her? Right? Lust, greed. This person's got money. I really like him. What if he lost everything? Would you like him? Envy and illusion are interested in false hearth and home in this material world created by your Maya. Attached to home, spouse, and children, they wander in this material world perpetually. Wow. Perpetually wandering the material world. They make it sound like you're eternally lost. And in one sense, we are. The snowball is rolling down the hill. We're implicating ourselves in karma as we perpetuate our bad habits. And then, if we're lucky, Sri Guru comes in the form of people or literature, right? And somehow, suppose you're rolling a bicycle wheel down the road. It stops if you throw a stick in that spoke. If you can stop that wheel from rolling, it will not continue and go into the road and hit a car and create disaster. We are rolling birth after birth. Actually, sometimes week after week, we do the same dumb things. Month after month, do the same dumb things. Patterns. Sometimes patterns that our parents did, which is the reason why we get born into a particular family. But we have these family patterns, these bloodline patterns that go on for lifetimes. And this Bhakti Yoga is a chance to undo. What is it? Control Z. What is it? Go back. Control Z.
Undo.
Apple Z. Undo. Undo all the things that we've been practicing. We've been practicing bad choices often for lifetimes. And now we're going to undo them by running into a bona fide spiritual master, a bona fide yoga system that says, you know what? I'm not going to consume that anymore. No, I'm not going to think like that anymore. I'm not going to carry lust or greed or envy for God anymore. That's over. And it's hard because for lifetimes I've been practicing to do the opposite. But now it's over. And I'm going to work on myself. I'm going to practice not doing what it appears to be natural. Sometimes people say, that's just me. Ever hear that? I put a post. Yeah. Someone asked me a question. Mitch asked me a question on an interview he did. And he said, well, what do you talk about with these people that say, well, I'm just attracted to darkness and dark things
clip,
and dark. Yeah. And the answer is, well, I'm sorry you're attracted to it. I am too.
Let's fix that.
We got to start practicing something different.
Yeah, right.
We got to practice being attracted to light things, bright things, because people are attracted to violence. People are attracted to.
That goes to what we were talking about the other day. About that means I identify with the mind. That's just me. That's what I'm into. Well, no, that's what your mind has been programmed to be into, and that's a problem. That's something that you can correct, right?
And people say stuff like that. I just can't forgive. Once you cross me, it's over. Okay, well, that means you got to work on it. That doesn't. You really want to be set in your ways as one of these mafia bosses where I don't trust anybody. It's over. You and me, it's over. Come on, give me a break.
All right, let's finish up this chapter, Raghu.
I can't stop looking at this meme of you or whatever this thing is.
Ghibli.
This Ghibli.
This is another example of, there was that other app that came out, where that turns you into
a goddess and stuff.
Yeah, or into
I
all
like
kind
that
of different.
I want to make that one of me. Or I look like I'm on a horse, like with a jousting on a unicorn.
Yeah,
or
whatever,
something.
like some kind
I
of.
want that thing.
What this is like, I want to enter into that beautiful, sweet anime world. If only the world.
I know.
Right? I'm in this. I want the dream within the dream again. Like, if only we had all had big, beautiful eyes and everything was soft and sweet.
Yeah, where Kaustubha and Mara are young and beautiful, and I'm Captain Kangaroo.
Oh well, apparently that creature is from some
Not
cartoon
the creature,
that turned you into.
the old man with the beard.
Well, apparently that creature is called Totoro.
You know what? I don't care anymore. I don't care. You know what? I am an old man with a beard. Why am I trying to hide it?
That's
I'm
right,
an old man with a beard. It's only because I dress young and identify with my children as my friends that I think I am younger than I actually am. I'm an old man with a beard. If I knew a 59-year-old man when I was 20,
that looked as
it.
great
He's
as
an
you
old
look
man
now.
with a beard. Huh?
No, that looked as great as you are now.
Thank you. But it's so funny because I was hanging out with all the teenagers in Alachua, and they're like, yeah, this old guy was coming down here, and he's like 30 years old. Like, who do you think you are? They're like complaining about the old 30-year-olds. I was like, yeah, those 30-year-olds, they're a bunch of losers, not like us.
Okay, two or three more
Wrap this
verses,
up.
Raghu.
Oh, super soul of all living entities.
Oh, that's nice.
Oh, personality of God.
Actually, there's quite a few verses left. Maybe we ought to come back.
Simply by seeing you, I have now become freed from all lusty desires, which are the root cause of insurmountable illusion. Oh, and bondage in the material world. My lusty desires, not just for lusty doesn't mean just sex. It means how can I consuming? How can I consume more? Okay,
let's come back to that verse tomorrow.
That's a good one. That'd be a good nugget too.
Let's start there tomorrow.
Your lust nugget.
I don't know if I want to call it
Give me a nugget of lust, please. Waiter.
Mara,
I'll take it.
Any takeaways?
Yeah, I got some good ones.
Oh, yeah? Let me try a new hat for the takeaways. What do I got here? And then Henry said I need a scarf. I know, I need one. I'm going to try the new blue hat. The blue trucker hat is super cool, isn't it?
You going to leave that sticker on there?
Kids are wearing it like this now.
Yeah.
Yo, oh, school.
You ready for takeaways?
Yeah.
We're ready, Mara.
All right. We're selectively rational.
Selectively rational.
Selectively rational. Yep.
There's motivated reasoning when we seek the truth that fits my desires.
Yep. What number do you always see, Mara? Do you see a number? I see 111 everywhere. Everywhere, 111. 111. All day long, I'm seeing 111. It's my birthday, too, January 11th. But I'm seeing it all the time. Do you have that, Kaustubha? Do you see?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. You got to become more aware. That's your takeaway. Become more aware. I can help.
Thank you for helping.
Just reminding you that is a helpful thing. That's what I do. I give.
Yeah.
Go on.
Where there's evolution, there's hierarchy.
Yeah, in a sense there is, right?
Where there's evolution. Yeah. That's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, that's all right. Don't let that trigger you. Right?
Don't let the fact that other people are higher than you, Kaustubha. Don't let that be an impediment.
It doesn't trigger me. I'm okay with that.
Move forward. That's all. It's not a competition, and I can help you up that ladder. I'll just extend my hand down to lift you. I'm here for you as a friend.
Thank you. Stop talking.
Our hearts are bewildered by lust, greed, envy, and illusion.
Whew. Okay, just saying it like it is. All right.
Yeah. Yes. Covered.
A bona fide guru helps undo our bad choices.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
This reminds me of going to a raw food restaurant once when I was a raw foodist, and they served me this plate of food that was impalatable. Like they put the wrong spices in it. And I was just saying, as a consumer, a person who's paying overpriced for this food, I went back to the lady at this 19-year-old girl at the restaurant, and I was saying,
First of all, you didn't even cook this.
I said, well, no, it was a raw food restaurant. I knew what I was getting into, but it just was completely unpalatable. I was like, this tastes not that good. Maybe you used the wrong spices, but it also tastes just like another thing you're serving with a different name. It's like the same thing. And she looks at me and she goes, I think you should eat slower.
Oh, that's good.
I think you should. She said,
right.
I think you should be more
mindful,
conscious when you eat.
What did you take from that? What did you learn from that, Raghunath? Because that was God speaking to you. Everything is a miracle. Right?
I learned anger, and I learned to be a vigilante consumer and get my money back. And I flipped a table. That's what I did.
All right. She may have been onto something, though. Yeah, eat a little slower.
I was eating slow. I was eating very, very mindful. It was before the iPhone.
Are you sure?
Go on. Give me a takeaway.
Lusty desires are the root cause of our bondage. Yeah. And you might have a faulty lab.
Oh,
you might have a faulty lab, Mr. Kaustubha. Hey, so if you want these hats, Kaustubha, tell the peeps where to get them.
You get them at wisdomofthesages.com, and you go to the merch thing on the left-hand side of the thing.
Yeah, they're made by Merch Now, which my good friend Sachi Suta's business. You can go to merchnow.com, and they have every band they make merch for, and then you can scroll down to Wisdom of the Sages. The one band.
Well, it's like easier just to go to wisdomofthesages.com.
Huh?
Easier just to go to wisdomofthesages.com.
I couldn't find it yesterday at wisdomofthesages.com. I went to Merch Now, and I found it.
It was right there. It's like,
maybe I have some. What do we just call them?
Confirmation bias.
Confirmation bias. I was just looking for. I wanted band merch.
Yeah.
For $60 to ship to. Oh, it shoots. I'm sorry. Yanagami, Steve Reddy. Yes, that's him. Thanks everybody for joining us. Today.
You got to bring some. Are you bringing some over to Europe?
Well, it's sort of like then I got to bring them all over to Europe, and then I got to pay you, and it's just too confusing, man.
Well, you're gonna be paying me never bothered you in the past. You never bothered to pay me in the past. Why is that an issue now?
Well, I just feel like if I'm the retailer, I get it all. If I'm the retailer.
Somehow, I've never gotten anything from any of this merch, one way or another.
I'm gonna have to go confront Yamaraj about this too. The time I'm dead, he's like, "Oh, you stole from the Vaishnavas." I was like, I was confused.
Were you?
Makes no difference. Yamaraj's gonna be like, "Were you?" I was, Yamaraj. I forgot that I had money in that pocket, and that half was for Kaustubha.
Well, Paramama tells us different.
Well, what am I going to have to do for this Kaustubha?
Yamaraj, he would just shake his head and be like, oh, this guy.
Okay,
just say, Yamadutas, take care of this, please. You're like, no.
Hundreds of births in hell before he sees Krishna. And I'd look at Yamaraj and say, you mean I get to see Krishna? Oh!
No. Then you just go back to Earth. No, you don't get to see Krishna.
That's one plan, Yamaraj. Here's another plan. You forgive me, and I don't do it again, and you put me in Krishna Loka. What do you say? That's another plan. We need
to root this out of you.
Forgive those who trespass against you and the Vaishnavas.
This is forgiveness.
You said I would, but the Vaishnav will not forgive you. And then you're like Yamaraj with your arms folded. Where's my $200? It was only 100, I think. Yamaraj's like, I know exactly how much.
Another lie.
Another lie. Chitragupta has it all written down. You owe him $144.47. It's like, oh, Chitragupta.
Maybe you owe me $111, and that's why you always see it everywhere. It's because you're guilty.
Or maybe you owe it to me.
No, I don't. Though.
You know what? Who knows? Who knows?
Look at that.
We don't know. Do we? Chitragupta's like, I know. Chitragupta, if you don't
Linda
know.
and I are both like, yes, we also know.
Everybody knows.
Exact about.
Chitragupta, if you don't know, is what is he? Yamaraja's scribe.
Scribe.
He's the one who's making a list.
Kind of like Mature Nanda right now. He's like noting down, oh, that was another lie.
Another lie.
He's writing it down on the board, you see?
He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out if you're going to do time in hell or not. Chitragupta, maybe Kaustubha is an incarnation of Chitragupta.